Yeah. Okay. So this is one of my favorite trainings to do because I have said for years, long even before I was in Tupperware, I don't believe in luck, right? And I don't. I really don't. I do not believe in luck. I believe in hard work. And I remember when I first started in Tupperware, we would go to the meetings and we'd do all these drawings at the meetings, and a lot of them were recognition based. They were all of that kind of stuff. And I would win so many drawings. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky." And I'm like, "No, I just have more entries. Like it's odds, right?" And I'm like, because and there's a quote. It says, "The harder I work, the luckier I get." Right. And I truly, truly believe that. And it's so important because how can you increase the chances of luck shining on you and your business every day? It can start with you changing your own thoughts and behaviors to get results, And that is the key, right? And so, number one, the first thing you can do is maximize each opportunity, right? So lucky people don't lock themselves in their office, right? They actually go out and look for additional possibilities to make things happen. Tony Robbins says, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always gotten. And you know who else says that all the time? Pam Clift, okay? I can't tell you how many times I've heard that come out of her mouth, right? And you want to be open to meeting new people and exposing yourself to new situations that can bring additional opportunities. And I'm going to add to that and say, you also want to take opportunities to get uncomfortable, right? Because that's where the growth happens. The growth happens on the edge of your comfort zone. So the more uncomfortable you can get, the more you're growing. So every time you're like, oh, this feels so gross and uncomfortable, and I just feel totally ick, that's okay, right? There's growth happening there as long as you're challenging yourself and putting one foot in front of the other. And always remember, success happens when opportunity meets preparation. That is hands down one of my all-time favorite quotes. I love quotes. I've got a lot of favorite quotes. This is one I think to myself all the time. On days when I'm like, I don't really have that much to do. What should I do today? And I take that time to sharpen my saw because at some point, success is going to happen because opportunity meets the preparation I'm doing right now, the preparation of my mental health, the preparation of becoming mentally strong, the preparation of having interesting things to say because I've taken in so much information, right? And so, number two is spread your risk. All right, don't bet the success of your business on a single action or decision. How many times have you in your business thought, you keep getting no's about parties and you're just like, see, I just I can't be successful like Bonnie and Loretta and Rena, all these people that do all these, I can't date parties like they can. I can't. That's a single action. Dating a parties is only one facet of this business, and it's only part of the way that you can make money. So pivot, 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 pivot. It's so important. If you've ever kind of been working on something, maybe you're trying to learn something new, right? For me, it's computer stuff, right? I get people think that I'm pretty techie when I start kind of talking about computer stuff, but my brain doesn't work that way naturally. So it takes me sometimes more than twice as long. Sometimes it takes a significant amount more longer for me to understand things on the computer than somebody who does have a mind that works that way. But I'm determined, right? And so I take the time to learn that type of stuff. And when my brain gets tired, I pivot and I work on something else for a while. And it's the same way in your business. If you're coming up against opposition and you're trying to recruit people, you're trying to recruit your hosts, right? And just everybody's saying no, and you don't know why, pivot. Start trying to recruit friends and family. Start trying to talk to all the party guests and make sure you're doing that. You should be doing that all the time. But sometimes when you give a concerted effort to that specific crowd, then it kind of shifts things a little bit. And then you can go back and start in on the hosts again and be like, okay, now I got my mojo back, right? And so it's the same thing with dating parties. You can't you're getting no's, no's, no's. Don't stop asking. but make sure you're also pivoting and being like, all right, where else can I get sales? How can I get creative? What can I do? Right? To just kind of change your energy around it and change your mindset and start getting that success again, and then come back again full force and work on dating those parties. But don't be like, well, this business just doesn't work, and walk away, because that's not gonna lead to that further success. The more chances you have for success, the more times you can be successful. So learn what you can from the results and take another action. There's a trainer that a couple of us really love to listen to. His name's Eric Worre, and he preaches plan, do, review, right? Plan your actions. Take that action, review what worked, what didn't, what do I need to change? How can I make it easier? How can I come, how can I go against that opposition next time? That's when they give me an objection, right? So spread that risk. All right. So number 3, listen to your gut. Developing an intuition is about honing a skill in a certain area to see patterns that others miss, right? It takes diligent practice over a long period of time, right? To get that intuition, and it comes from life experience. It comes from, working the business, and then you get this intuition. I know people that can sit, and I can do it too sometimes. You're sitting in a booth, you're working a craft show, and somebody starts walking up and you're like, they're going to date a party. That's a party walking down the aisle, right? And then when it happens, you're like, yes, right? And it happens. That's the intuition that you start to get. And you can do it at a party too. You can be like, that one, I want to date a party with her. And I do it because a lot of times it's somebody's vibe. Like, I'm just like, oh, I like her energy. I like what she's bringing to the party, and I want to party with her, right? It's not that I don't ask everybody else, but I look at this person, I'm like, and that's my gut. That's my intuition telling me. All right, so number 4, don't get frustrated. Stressful people tend to be tense and uptight, right? And they can seem desperate, and customers can smell this. It can be critical for you to relax and not press too hard in every sales situation. It's so important to realize when you're determined and you're doing all these things that you're going to be successful with or without that particular party, because you're going to ask the next person, and then you're going to ask the next person, and then you're going to ask the next person, right? You're going to be successful with or without that person saying yes to the opportunity, because you're going to ask the next person, and you're going to ask the next person. It's so important to realize that you have that control. Don't give that control to somebody else who has their own stories going in their head as to why they can't or won't do this business, right? All right, so number 5, expect luck. Expect the best, right? People who think they're lucky and successful may have more of an opportunity for it to end up that way. This is because they optimistically focus on a victorious outcome. In Earl Nightingale's book, The Strangest Secret, he says, we become what we think about, right? What you think about, you bring about. We've heard that said in so many ways, right? And stay in your circle of influence. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. I am so in my circle of influence that when people come at me and they start to complain about things that are not in my circle of influence, I tune them out. And sometimes I flat out dismiss them, depending upon who it is and if I'm comfortable enough, and depending upon my mood. But when I concentrate on the things I can control, I can't control gas prices. I don't even talk about gas prices. I have no idea what the gas price is. I know that when I need gas, I'm going to get the amount of gas that I can afford. Doesn't matter. Okay. And so I'm not going to waste any of my energy thinking about gas prices, right? Because I can't control it. The cost of living, I can't control that either. I can control my actions around it. I might adjust the things I'm eating, making, so that I'm buying less expensive groceries, or I'm shopping at a less expensive store, or things like that. I can't control if somebody dates a party, right? I can't control other people's actions, but I can control me and mine. And that's okay if that person doesn't date a party, because I'm going to ask other people too. And somebody's going to say yes, because the odds are forever in my favor. Okay. All right. I can control my thoughts and my actions and my choices, and lean into what I can control. When we're losing, So when we were losing our house, I couldn't control the bank. I couldn't control the lawsuits, right? All these years ago. But I choose my response to it, and I chose joy because I had kids and they're looking at me and they're looking for the joy. And I had to choose that in order to instill that in them. And we had an appraiser that came to the house at that time. And she walked in and I was like, "Oh, hi, come in." And she comes in and I was like, "Do you need any help?" And then afterwards she was doing paperwork and we sat down and we talked for a long time. And she was getting ready to leave and she goes, "I didn't know what to expect today." And I said, "Oh, really? Why?" And she goes, "Because I know why I'm here." And that was her way of saying, "I know you're losing your house." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, you probably do." And she's just like, "But you're not what I expected." She goes, "I come do this job and people are so angry at me, but it's not my fault." I said, "Oh, yeah, this is not your fault." I was like, I'm like, why would somebody be angry at you? You're like, you're just doing your job. And and that's it. I expected good things to happen. And I even in losing our house, I expected that we need to let go of that house so we could open ourselves up to something greater, something less stressful, not something bigger, nothing like that, but just something less stressful, something that was going to be better for us. All right, so almost done. Number 6, optimize bad breaks. You will likely fail some of the time. It's going to happen, right? It's inevitable. And if not, then I need some of your mojo. Whether this is due to wrong actions, insufficient training, poor timing, or it doesn't matter. It's not important, right? The key is to learn what you can from the failure right now. You can have a pity party for 24 hours. I just was talking to Pam the other day and I said, I really was able to see how far I've come mentally, like my mental strength that I have managed to hone over the last couple years because something happened the other day and it's something that normally would take me at least 24 hours, maybe even a couple days to bounce back from. And it only took 2 hours. And after 2 hours, I was like, "You know what? I know who I am and I've got this." Like I was just like, but those 2 hours, I was down and out, man. I was really upset. I was hurt and I was very disappointed in this situation that had happened. And then I was just like, no, that's their story. That's their story that made them behave that way. And I'm like, this is not my story. And I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to succeed because of it. And when people ask me, "What is it that you did?" I'm like, "I did the right thing. And that's why I'm here and I'm succeeding." And it's so important to realize that. And you got to let it go. You got to let it go and take another action to give you an additional chance for success because you learn more from the losses than you do from the wins. And we all know that. We know that if we have kids in sports, we know that if we've been in sports, we know that throughout life. I learn way more from the hard times than I do from the good times. All right, so last but certainly not least, use luck rituals. Do not be afraid to use luck rituals, right? You got a lucky pair of socks, you put them on, okay? This seems to really work. And all it is like these rituals can do is put you in a better frame of mind, right? You're like, "Hey, I'm having a day because I got my lucky socks on." It was the other day I got dressed and I put my clothes, both my shirt and my bottom, my pants, inside out. I put them on inside out. And I came into the office and I said to Eric, I was like, "I'm completely dressed inside out today." I'm like, "Something weird's gonna happen." And it was a weird day. It was like a weird sort of like, whoa, there's some weird things happening, right? Not bad, just weird. And so it's important, to put yourself in a better frame of mind and to expect and receive luck and opportunities that come your way. Change your vibe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So what are you putting out there, right? Sage your house, do whatever you got to do, right? I have stuff I use like when everybody's being negative. I'm like, okay, we're going to change this up, right? When it comes to the business, one surefire way to get lucky in this business is through recruiting. Every time you recruit, you increase your odds for success because for every 10 people you recruit, one could potentially become a manager. How cool is that? right? And so never prejudge. Our job is to educate. Let go of the yes and just educate them in the business and stay connected to the ones that aren't ready, right? The ones that aren't ready right now. That doesn't mean they'll never be ready, because the harder you work, the luckier you get. All right. So, it's funny. There's something, hold on. I was just thinking about this. Okay, so when it comes to being desperate, okay, I talked about that for just a second, about like the people can sense that on you. And when I was feeling the most desperate in my business, I remember a leader said to me what I said, right? I'm going to be successful with or without that yes. And I remember thinking, I'm not. I need every party I can get. I'm like, I don't know how she can say that. I'm desperate. I need these parties. And the way that I was able to switch that was I had a good old P-Touch machine, right? The ones that made the labels, and it was huge, this bad boy. Like now they're like so tiny. You can do it on your phone. I think there's probably an app for it. But like I had a little P-Touch machine and I made this like little strip and I put it on my laptop, like right here above my keyboard, right? And it said, let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. And when I would get done making my phone calls, Eric would say, how'd they go? And I would say, well, I didn't get any parties tonight, but I had some really cool conversations, and I focused on the relationships and I focused on the conversations. And so sometimes you have to, especially if you're in that place of desperation and you're like, Ellen, I do need all the yeses. I am not going to make it without this party or this person. If you're feeling that way, you need to just keep reminding yourself, put it on a post-it note, do whatever you got to do, but just let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. And when you do that and you do consistent actions every day, you're going to succeed. And then you're going to be like, oh, I did succeed without that party, right? So it's really important to do that.